Hi there, Eliza here, and in 1985, Saban tried to make Power Rangers for the first time by adapting Bioman. He shopped the pilot around several studios, but there was no takers. It wasn't until 7 years later, after the success of the X-Men animated series, that his third attempt, that I know of, for a pilot of Power Rangers was greenlit. After retooling the pilot again and replacing a few actors, did Mighty Morphin Power Rangers premiere on Fox Kids in 1993. Under this title, the show lasted for 3 years, whereupon in 1996, after a 10-episode miniseries, did the show get relaunched and rebranded as Power Rangers Zeo. After this, Power Rangers would begin a yearly trend of relaunching and rebranding under new titles, usually with new aesthetics, new suits, new characters, and everything. In 1997, Power Rangers Turbo ended, and they were told they had one last season, Power Rangers in Space. This was because of declining viewership, after the first 5 seasons had their audience primarily drawn away by Big Bad Beetleborgs. However, with the end of Big Bad Beetleborgs and the massive success of In Space, Power Rangers continued into Lost Galaxy, which acted as a transitionary period between the Zordon era that came before and the post-Zordon era that would come after. This is because, unlike other post-Zordon series, it still contained elements from the previous series, namely Alpha 6, Bulk Phenomenus, Deca, the Astromech ship, and halfway through the season, Corone. The following series, Lightspeed Rescue in the year 2000, would be the first true entry into the post-Zordon Saban era. This era would only last for 3 years and would contain Lightspeed Rescue, Time Force, and Wild Force, even though Wild Force itself would also be a kind of transitionary series, because it was the last series that was partially controlled by Saban, but also partially controlled by Disney, which was the start of the next era. The Disney era truly started with Ninja Storm and continued through Dino Thunder, SPD, Mystic Force, Operation Overdrive, Jungle Fury, and ended with RPM, making at the time the Disney era the longest of Power Rangers, as the Zordon era was 6.5, the post-Zordon era was 3.5, and the Disney being 7. And like In Space before it, RPM was intended to be the end. And while the fans didn't come back in droves like In Space had done, it was just as well written, and possibly even more well critically received. There was genuine excitement at the end of RPM. People wanted more, but Disney was not willing to give them more. So after attempting to rebrand and recycle the original Mighty Morphin Power Rangers series, and it failing, Disney sold it back to Saban. For those who are in the know, the Neo-Saban era was not well received starting off. The first series, Samurai, was middling at best, and started a trend of splitting the series in half, with the second seasons being called Super. And thus, the Neo-Saban era included Samurai and Super Samurai, Megaforce and Super Megaforce, Dino Charge and Super Dino Charge, and Ninja Steel and Super Ninja Steel. Depending on your point of view, this era has either 4 or 8 seasons, and I personally say it has 4, of which only 1 is really good, 1 is decent, 1 is middling, and 1 is god-awful. And so with that, Saban sold it to Hasbro, which gave us Beast Morphers and Dino Fury, and is about to start a reboot. However, everything after the Disney era is not important for this topic, because I want to do a look into what would have happened if Disney hadn't sold Power Rangers back to Saban. Like, what if I had been allowed to become the showrunner of Power Rangers before Disney sold it? What if they had allowed me to take control of the series and point it in a new direction that would have gone after RPM? Now you may be asking who I am, and well, I stated at the beginning, I am Elizabeth, and I'm a writer. And this is going to be a deep dive into a concept on what Power Rangers would have been like had someone like me been in charge of it. So let us cast our minds back to 2009. RPM has just concluded Power Rangers and is in need of a new showrunner. And at Disney, they have hired me to take control of the show. So I lay out a grand idea. What if we go back to basics? Constantly having to bring in new actors means constantly having to write new contracts. So what if we take a page out of the original series and get actors to sign multi-year contracts instead of 1 season, 1 story? We put together a story that would cover 5 seasons, regardless of whatever the Sentai throws our way. You might be wondering, how do you continue Power Rangers from RPM? I mean, Venjix has destroyed the world, and it's kind of a post-apocalypse out there. Well, for starters, I wouldn't continue the series, well, not at first. Because part of my plan would be this. I would ask Disney for 40 episodes for each of the 5 seasons, however only 30 of them would be used for each season, and the other 10 would be used to make miniseries that bridge everything. And we would start with a bridge, not forward from RPM, but taking place between Jungle Fury and RPM. Now, for everyone's knowledge, I started working on this immediately after RPM's cancellation, which means I have been working on this idea for about, what, 13, 14 years? Meaning, at the time when I started working on this, the only Sentai I knew about afterwards were Shinkenger and the recently announced Ghost Sager. And I'm sorry if I mispronounced any Japanese words, but not my native tongue. So what I'm about to say may seem like I had more knowledge than that, but I didn't. Because the thing that I would have done to link Jungle Fury to RPM would be a 10-episode miniseries called The Ranger War. The Ranger War would have seen all the Rangers from across the world, every previous Ranger team, and even a few that we hadn't seen before, working together to rescue as many people and get them to safe areas as they could, so that way Vengeance couldn't touch them. Because even in RPM, we see other places where people are surviving. And in the Power Rangers world, there are a lot of places you could hide from Vengeance, such as the Force from Mystic Force, the Aqua Base, the portals to get people to Miranoi, take the Mega Ship to KO-35, the numerous underground Zord bays, the hidden sanctuary temples of Jungle Fury and Ninja Storm. There'd be a few characters that do die in this miniseries, but all in all, it would be used to show the Rangers doing what Rangers do best, being heroes and saving people. And in the last episode, we would have a hint at what did occur in RPM and what's to come in the adaptation of Shinkenger. Now, I'm not going to talk about the Ranger War miniseries right now. That will be a video after I finish this one, and there's a reason for that. Granted, when I do a compilation of this, I will be putting the Ranger Wars miniseries first. And with that really long introduction done, hello, I'm Eliza, and this is Power Rangers Samurai Strike, an alternate take on Power Rangers Samurai and Super Samurai. Part of my deep dive what if kind of series called Divergent Paths. So I welcome you to the wonderful world of what ifery, and we take a look at what if Power Rangers was not sold back to Saban with Power Rangers Samurai Strike. It has been a full year since the defeat of Vengeance, and the world has finally started to recover, with aliens from all over the galaxy coming together to help rebuild. Still, unknown to all, trouble is brewing off the coast of Japan. You see, thousands of years ago, the kingdom of Yamatai sunk to the bottom of the sea, and in the aftermath of the destruction caused by Vengeance, the sunken kingdom has started to stir. As the island reaches the surface, a small tidal wave goes out, and we cut to the throne room, where two statues crack, slowly opening to reveal two young adults wearing ancient Japanese garb. As they struggle to their feet, the cracks in the floor start to glow, as do the ones in the walls, and these strange demonic entities start to pour into the room, causing the two teens to flee. Reaching a vault, the girl starts grabbing at several objects, and the boy holds the door just as the demons start to break through. A Red Ranger moves before the two of them, protecting them, and we cut to Angel Grove. Yes, we are back in Angel Grove, because if you're going to be going back to basics, it makes sense to go back to where everything started. And in Angel Grove, we see former Blue Ranger Justin Stewart is helping the staff of Bulkmeyer's rebuild the restaurant. Justin and Farkas Bulkmeyer, the founder and owner of the restaurant, have a talk about the things that have happened in the past. Bulk makes a joke about how he should have stayed on Miranoi, as Earth seems to have a target on its back. Justin reassures him, saying that at least Power Rangers will always be there, and he's glad that he and the other Angel Grove Rangers managed to keep a lot of people safe. But he's also thankful that with the defeat of Vengeance, he gets to lead a peaceful life. As Bulk finishes hanging the sign for the restaurant, a strange green light envelops Justin and he vanishes from sight. We cut again to the wastelands between cities. Dylan, Tanaya 7, and Summer are acting as couriers, setting up lines of communication between all the new settlements that have been popping up since the fall of Vengeance. As they make their way to the newly built New Tech City, Tanaya vanishes in a flash of yellow light, similar to how Justin did from Angel Grove, causing Dylan to nearly crash the car that he was driving. Meanwhile, over in New Tech City, an SPD trainee by the name of Erin is packing up her stuff. She has flunked the training course and is being booted from SPD. As she finishes packing her bags and starts to make her way out, walking through the corridors of SPD base, she also vanishes in a flash of pink light. Lastly, we cut to Corinth. A soldier working for Commander Truman named Brant is giving a report to him, when blue light seems to flood around him and he vanishes as well. Commander Truman activates an emergency signal as this happens and demands someone bring him both his son and Dr. K right this minute. In an undisclosed location, Justin, Tanaya, Aaron, and Brant all appear in something that looks familiar to Justin. It kind of resembles the power chamber, but is larger and deeper. As the four of them gather their bearings, Tanaya, Aaron, and Brant begin to argue, wondering who did this, while Justin just looks out surprised, curious as to who did this. Who teleported them there? As their voice reaches a discordant amount of yelling and arguments, Justin hears a familiar voice, yet telling them to quiet down. Stepping into the room is Adam, and beside him is another person he knows from the Ranger War, Billy. The two of them explain that the four of them have been chosen to be Power Rangers. Justin speaks first, asking why and who chose them. And as he says that, the girl seen in the opening walks in holding a box. "By me," she says as she walks up to each of them. "I am Minako of the Kingdom of Yamatai." She continues her explanation as she walks past Billy and Adam. "And for the last 3 months, Adam and Billy have been helping me search for the right people to help save the world." She walks up to Justin and opens the box, which has 4 mechanical-looking brushes and strange, differently shaped boxes in it. "My kingdom sank itself to seal demons. The fact I am here means the seal has broken, and while most of my people remain frozen in stone, a few of us have awoken. I managed to escape with the help of the Red Ranger, but he is not enough to face the demons alone. We need other Rangers." She turns looking back to Adam and Billy. "They have helped me, and the Red Ranger accustom ourselves to the modern world, and help me in my search for those who could help fight the demons. And we have chosen you 4. "Me, a ranger? I don't think you want me as one." Tanaya scoffs as she looks down at the box. "And why is that, Miss Tanaya? Is it because until recently you fought against the Rangers?" Minaka looks at her with a very compassionate, knowing gaze in her eyes. "You all have had struggles. Justin, you lost your father and a few friends during the war. Aaron, I know that your mother was one of those turned into a cyborg by Venjix. Tanaya, you and your brother have suffered more than most from that tyrant. And Brant, you have lost many in your defense of Corinth." As she speaks, she hands each of them one of the brushes in a corresponding colored box. "Billy has helped me. What was the word? Upgrade the ancient weapons of our rangers that were used to fight the demons millennia ago." "Well, do we get to meet this Red Ranger?" Erin asks as she looks at her brush and her round box-like device. "Unfortunately, no." Minako sighs as she looks over to Adam, who flips a switch, revealing a glass chamber with the Red Ranger in it. "He was stuck in a morph state, frozen in stone for millennia. He can't demorph, but he's also leaking energy while morphed, and it's killing him," she says, looking sadly at the chamber. "My brother and I freed him before coming here, and he was able to bring us to Angel Grove, where I met Adam and Billy." "Wait, what happened to your brother?" Brent asks as he looks over the equipment he was just handed. "I don't know." Minako looks down at the ground. When I woke up here with the Red Ranger, he wasn't here. Please, I need your help." Justin shakes his head, having known the toll of being a ranger. "Why us? Why can't Adam or Billy do it?" "We tried," Adam speaks up, walking forward. "From what we can tell, those devices require certain genetic characteristics, and we just don't have them. Out of the hundreds we found that do, the 4 of you stood out. Out of all of them, we chose you. None of them knows the discipline or training that the 4 of you each have. A former ranger, an SPD trainee, member of Corinth military, and a cyborg that broke free of Vengeance's control. You all have it, and for some of you, in spades." "Well, I'm in." Tanaya speaks up, stepping forward. "Look, my brother probably would have been a better choice, but I'm in." "So am I." Brent looks over at Tanaya. "If only to keep an eye on her. Look, lady, you attacked Corinth so many times. Yeah, I know you were under Vengeance programming, but I think a little insurance to make sure it doesn't take you over again would be a good idea. Like, say it took over you when you had ranger powers would be a bad idea." "I'm in as well." Aaron smiles. "I wanted to be an SPD officer, and this seems to be along the same lines of helping people." "Justin?" Adam looks to his former teammate. The former Blue Ranger sighs as he holds the box in his hand. "I was looking forward to a peaceful life. But if monsters are attacking, there won't be any peace, will there? He nods slowly. Yeah, I'm in. Thank you. Minako bows as she goes and walks over to the two veteran rangers. The demons have foot soldiers called Nilox. Yes, I am making the enemies to just be demons and naming the foot soldiers Nilox because Mooger is a stupid name. They gain their power through fear, and with the destruction wrought by vengeance. The people of the world are far more susceptible to fear now than in my time. They are led by a cruel demon named Xandred, who wishes to turn our world into the demon realm by flooding the world with the Sanzu River. They can enter the world through any gap provided there is enough fear. As Minako says this, the power changer's warning lights go off. Billy says, Rangers, observe the viewing globe. As a new version of the viewing globe rises from the floor. It seems we have demons attacking Turtle Cove with a large amount of Nilox. I'm going to teleport a lot of you there to handle it, and we'll send the Red Ranger to you as soon as we're able. As the Rangers teleport to Turtle Cove, Adam looks to Billy and Minako. I don't like keeping things from them. They should know everything. It would put them at great risk to know everything right now, Minako says as she turns to Billy. Let's go get the Red Ranger ready. The four Rangers materialize in Turtle Cove and start facing off against the Nilox, managing to defeat a number of them, unmorphed, before realizing they don't know how to use the morphers. As they realize this and start to be on the back foot, the Red Ranger teleports in and shows them how to use them. Morphing, they work alongside the Red Ranger and defeat the Nilox and the demon. But before they're able to have any conversation with him, he teleports away. The Rangers quickly teleport back and they see Minako closing the door to the Red Ranger's chamber. She congratulates them on their first successful fight and tells them that tomorrow they're training on symbol magic, Ranger Tech, and a martial arts refresher course will begin, referencing herself, Billy, and Adam as their teachers. And that is where episode 1 would end. It would be a rather fast-paced first episode, revealing the setup, the powers, the base, the enemies. Though we wouldn't get a scene with the main bad guy, I would hold off on that until the next episode. But I'm not going to be covering what would have happened each episode in full. Just basic descriptions from here on out, except for when we reach certain milestones. That being said, let's continue. Because episode 2 would begin on Xandred's boat on the Sanzu River. As Dayu and Akturu talk about things, their master walks in, demanding his medicine for Akturu so he can regain his strength. We would also see that the Rangers have gotten in touch with SPD to explain what happened with Aaron, and Tanaya is able to get a hold of her brother and Summer to let them know what happened with her. The Rangers have also talked with Bulk, who has agreed to help the Rangers out with lodging, offering his rather decent-sized house and acting as kind of a sort of group counselor to them as they train. They would also try to get in contact with Corinth, but for some reason any communication to there is being blocked. But that's worries for later. The second episode would also show the Rangers using their origami Zords for the first time. Yes, I know that in Samurai they were called folding Zords instead of origami Zords, but they were renamed that because they didn't think that kids would know what origami was. I mean, most people know what origami is in elementary school. It was stupid. And in the third episode, we would finally see the Zords form in Megazord. After a few filler episodes dealing with elements such as Aaron revealing to the others that she's an SPD dropout, Justin having to deal with his distrust of the Red Ranger, and Tanaya and Brandt having to deal with their dislike of each other at best, we would get to a set of 4 episodes that introduced the Beetle Zord, the Swordfish Zord, and the Tiger Zord, as well as an episode that introduced the Battle Wing that they combine into. As this continues, they would also get more and more worried that Corinth has been unreachable by everyone. In episode 10, after introducing the Battle Wing, something else is introduced. In the show that we got in the real world, he was named Decker, but in this, I'm going to be renaming him Shuzo, because I think it's a better name. Shuzo is targeting the Red Ranger, not just for an honorable battle, but calling them a liar in front of the other Rangers. One thing to note as well is that whenever Dayu shows up in battle, the Red Ranger refuses to fight them at all. Around episode 13, the Gold Ranger saga begins. And with this saga and the events leading up to it, Justin's distrust of the Red Ranger and Minako has reached a boiling point. Another Ranger mysteriously appears, only for when the Ranger's to demorph, the power flies away from the person who had been using it. A random civilian that Justin had protected earlier in the episode, in the place of the Gold Ranger. The former blue, now green Ranger demands answers from Minako. Something that is pressed upon even more when Adam agrees that they deserve to know, which causes Justin to temporarily leave the team. After the gold power possesses somebody else, Justin returns demanding to know everything now. And as of episode 15, the third part of 5 of the Gold Ranger saga, and the mid-season finale, the identity of the Red Ranger is revealed. The Red Ranger demorphs in front of everyone. It's Minako. But as they head back to the base, they see that there is a person inside the tube as well. A person that is only half there and seems to be fading from existence. Minako finally explains things to them. She is the Red Ranger. The previous Red Ranger, her father, had died protecting her and the person fading from existence, her brother, as they teleported away from Yamatai. He died, but they survived. But in the process, the demon somehow managed to separate her brother's mind, body, and spirit. And what is in the tube is her brother's spirit. She's using her Red Ranger power on her brother to keep his spirit from fading, but she's running out of time. If she can't find his body and mind, he will fade. Billy built the tube using the same tech as Zordon's containment tube, but without the mind and body, he's fading. She then reveals that she was surprised to see the Gold Ranger, because her brother was the Gold Ranger, which means his mind is inside the Morpher and is taking hosts to help them fight. If they could find his body, they have a chance to save him. It is also revealed that Minako uses a glamour over her Red Ranger form to prevent Xander from realizing that she is the Red Ranger. As all these revelations come out, Billy would chime in saying that they found a close DNA match to Minako. They found her brother's body, but none of them will like it. Her brother's body is the host of the demonic Shuzo, and that Shuzo seems to be the sword itself. If they can destroy the sword, they would rescue Minako's brother, and with the Gold Morpher and the capsuled spirit, they could merge him back into one. Now, many of you might be saying, hey, wait, isn't that kind of similar to the Tray of Triforia thing? To which I say, no! They are only similar in the vaguest sense. I did take elements from it, the Green Ranger, the Titanium Ranger, the Lunar Wolf Rangers, and other storylines of 6 Rangers from MMPR, Zeo, Lightspeed, and Wild Force, and others, and use them to create a new storyline. Also, there is kind of its own unique element with a Morpher that has a mind of its own, bonding to multiple different people in order to help out. As we reach the final episode of the Gold Ranger saga, Minako enters into one-on-one combat with Shuzo and manages to destroy the sword, freeing her brother's body, which starts to grow cold without a mind or spirit. Putting him in stasis, they rush his body back to the power chamber, while Justin, now trusting the Red Ranger, manages to retrieve the Gold Morpher. Minako uses her powerful symbol magic, combining her brother's mind, body, and spirit back into one, and her brother Shinichi joins the Rangers. But Minako is out of commission for the next few episodes. Unfortunately for the Rangers, one of Xandred's generals gets a hold of the broken Shuzo swords and reforges it with Dayu's help, kidnapping one of the 3 people the Gold Ranger had used as a host, a young woman named Dottie, to act as Shuzo's new host, making sure the Rangers are aware of it so they know they can't go too hard on the new one. At episode 20, Dr. K, Dylan, Ziggy, Summer, and Flynn show up, asking for help, and reveal that after Brandt vanished from Corinth, Commander Truman asked Dr. K to give Scott, Jem, and Gemma their morphers back, just in case of some sort of Venjix remnant attack. Unfortunately, Venjix had stowed away in Scott's morph and took control of him, Jem, and Gemma as soon as they morphed. Truman eventually managed to get Dr. K, Ziggy, and Flynn out of Corinth, and the 3 met up with Summer and Dylan and headed to find the other Rangers. Dr. K works with Billy to make an antiviral protection against Venjix, and the 10 Rangers come up with a plan to get inside Corinth. This is when Dr. K reveals something to them. After Venjix was destroyed, she had spent her time developing 3 new morphers that she had managed to give to Commander Truman before leaving the city. Unfortunately, those morphers are incomplete and have a limited usage. Sneaking into Corinth utilizing the Go-Onger, the Samurai and remaining RPM Rangers meet up with 3 new Rangers, a Cyan, Crimson, and White Ranger, take off their helmets to reveal Hicks, Truman, and Vasquez, respectively. Utilizing a mix of symbol magic, Ranger tech, and the antiviral Dr. K whipped up, they are able to purge Venjix from Scott, Jem, and Gemma, but the viral entity refuses to die and makes a new form for itself, utilizing junk parts from around Corinth, calling upon all the Megazords they have available to them. The combined 16 Rangers defeat Venjix once and for all, but the 3 Neo RPM morphers burn out in the aftermath. The remaining RPM Rangers give their morpher back to Dr. K. Summer, Tanaya, and Dylan catch up. Brandt finally reports into Commander Truman, and gets permission to return with the Samurai Rangers. Justin has a conversation with Ziggy and Flynn about what it's like to put Ranger life behind them. Aaron has a friendly soldier conversation with Scott, Jem, and Gemma. And Minako and Shinichi have a talk with Dr. K, and ask her how she deals with knowing that she was one who unleashed something so monstrous upon the world. The 2 of them revealing to her that they might have had something to do with it, the unleashing of Xander millennia ago, something to do with the events that led to their father sealing not only the demons with their homeland away. Dr. K understands and tells them it's a journey of a million steps, and she's far from taking her last. She has a lot to make up for, but she's doing all she can to do so. As the Rangers depart from Corinth, the RPM Rangers give the Samurai Rangers a gift. The Go-Onger. Over the course of the episodes, from around episode 18 through 26, Billy and Minako have spent time working together to make several advancements in the Ranger Tech. The Super Mode Black Box, the Lantern Zord, resurrecting an ancient Zord known as the Bull Zord, and creating the Shark Zord, all of which eventually gives them the Samurai Ultra and Giga Zords. Over the course of this time, they also befriend the two Gold Ranger hosts that were not captured by the demons, a young man named Kelly and a young woman named Ray. The two help Aaron with her not feeling good enough to be a Ranger, that she's been dealing with since being an SPD dropout, and Brant with loosening up a bit. They also start to take down Xandred's generals one by one. In episode 27, Minako goes to face Shuzo one-on-one again, manages to defeat him, freeing Dottie from his control and destroying the sword once and for all. But in the end of that fight, her glamour breaks and Octoroo sees the Red Ranger's true form. The Red Ranger's a girl. Putting two and two together, Octoroo realizes that the Red Ranger is in actuality the daughter of the person that sealed Xandred away. In episode 28, the three-part finale would begin. Xandred has gathered enough fear from the Sanzu River to flood Angel Grove and use it as his entry point into the physical world. The Rangers rally to rescue as many people as possible. Minako comes face to face with the three remaining leaders of the demons, Xandred, Dayu, and Octoroo, and tries to use the sealing magic her father used, but it doesn't work, and she falls to her feet unable to move. The full truth finally comes out. Xandred was once mortal, as was Dayu. Only Octoroo was originally a demon. Millennia ago on Yamatai, long before Minako was born, Xandred was the first human to become a demon, giving his soul to the Sanzu River in a deal with Octoroo to have the power to defeat a greater evil, beings known as orgs that threatened their homeland. However, Xandred then fell further and further into darkness and had to be sealed away by his own granddaughter, the first Queen of Yamatai, and Minako's ancestor. And he would have been sealed forever if it not for Minako and her love, Aki. Minako looks to Dayu. As this is said, and the other Rangers realize something. Minako had never been able to face Dayu in battle, never attacked her. They realize that Dayu is Minako's love, Aki. Millennia ago, Minako nearly died, and Aki gave up her own humanity to save her girlfriend's life, becoming Xandred's servant in exchange for Minako to survive. The Rangers retreat back to base, but Minako is breaking apart inside. That is when a friend of Bulk's arrives with Dylan and Summer. Eugene Skulovich. Now, this is something I only added in recently due to an event that happened in the Power Rangers comic, but I think it works in building on this. Skull has a talk with Minako, telling her about his relationship with an Altarian warrior, and how even though it took time, and at one point she was a spy infiltrating Earth, the two did eventually find happiness. Though his wife now spends time on a mix between Eltar, Earth, and the Galactic Council. Dottie, the girl that was possessed by Shuzo, also helps comfort Minako, and her brother Shinichi also points out that they were able to free Dottie from demons. Minako and Shinichi give their Zords to the other Rangers, and the two siblings take the Go-Onger to go after Dayu. With the four Rangers taking on Xandred, Minako and Shinichi go to find Dayu. Justin takes the lead of the other Rangers, using the Gigazord to take on the demon leader. The Go-Onger is teleported by Billy to the island of Yamatai, breaking through a barrier Dayu had erected, where they find her standing amongst the statues. The brother and sister fight the demon, trying not to hurt her, but also trying to destroy the instrument she holds, hoping against hope that is where the demonic energy is coming from. It is a tough-won battle, but eventually they break it, and Dayu turns back to normal, but so much time has passed that she's starting to fade away. Minako rushes and kisses her girlfriend, and that is enough to help her stabilize, and she returns to being the human she was so long ago. Back in Angel Grove, the Gigazord breaks down into the Ultra Zord, and then into the Megazord, then into the individual Zords, and the Rangers keep pressing and pressing Xander, trying to break him down, but they need a little extra edge. Eventually they decide that they have only one choice, and they use the Zords, blowing them up to send Xandred back into being his normal-sized form. At the command center, Adam and Billy have managed to figure out a way to give all the Rangers the supermode at the same time, and the 4 Rangers stand to oppose Zenred. At that moment, Minako, Shinichi, and Aki teleport in, as do Dylan and Summer carrying the light sword in its weapon form. Billy and Adam also show up with blasters Billy had made to take on some powered-up Nylok soldiers earlier, and Aki is handed the shark sword by Minako. Using all their weapons, the 11 attack Zenred at once, who crumbles away into dust, and the Rangers demorph, the seas of the Sanzi River retreating, and Octoru and the ship taken with it. The Rangers have won. On the island of Yamatai, the remaining statues crumble away, returning to being the humans they once were. Minako collects the morphers from Justin, Brent, Tanaya, and Aaron, thanks them for their assistance, and she, her brother, and her girlfriend teleport back to Yamatai. I have been going with them to help them integrate with the modern world. Dylan, Summer, and Tanaya leave as well to go back to their jobs as couriers to unite the various cities across the world after the Vengeance attacks. And just as the other 6 who are still there, Justin, Brent, Aaron, Dottie, Ray, and Kelly are about to leave, the alarms go off and Billy looks into the viewing globe and they see a large alien fleet headed towards Earth. With only the 3 former Rangers and the 3 temporary Gold Rangers around, Billy looks at them worried and says, I think we might need you to become Rangers again. Justin, having realized that, yeah, it's sometimes good to be a Ranger, gives a confident look and says, well, I'm in. And that is where Samurai Strike would end, and the 10-episode mini to connect it to the next season would begin. But as for next time, where I will discuss both the Vengeance 4 mini that would take place before Samurai Strike, and the Growing Force mini that would take place between Samurai Strike and Guardian Force, my name for what Mega Force would be, but that will have to wait until next time. If you enjoyed this, please like and subscribe. Leave a comment if you want. If you really liked it, follow me on Twitter and link in the description. If you really like this, follow me on Twitter, link in the description. If you support me and want to see more content like this, but want to have more than just my avatar on the screen with a few pictures, you can support me on Patreon so I can eventually get an editor. If you really want to help me out because I am homeless, I have a GoFundMe for trying to create a community home for women in the LGBT community who are homeless or have suffered abuse with a focus on trans women in the description as well.